check y'all's pages real fast. Y'all should be getting this one. I'm gonna check ours. It's on mine. It's gonna be on y'all. It worked. The first one before we did here, the battery went dead. Remember that? The first one we did here for y'all? The battery went dead. I think we're up to 9. And it could be 10 if we get 2.
I didn't memorize it.
I know, I'm sorry. Here's the...
So it wasn't like anybody got it.
If I can get a moderator to everyone. It'll hurt me. I can see each other.
Hi, how are you? To the Canada.
I told him...
I've been giving you a holler about
Yes, I heard you run I-45. Yes, you do a fantastic job. So,
your live streaming this tonight.
okay, that will be fine. That
Good luck
will
to
be
the
fine.
campaign.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good. Nice to meet you.
Yes, nice to meet you.
Yes, I think. If I screw it up, correct. No, it's not that.
The Facebook goes on wonderfully. But for those that just listen to the
Well, it would have been nice.
Sorry, I have to steal it.
no worries. It's been a lot of and then I still
TJ, you ready? You ready to rock and roll? Okay. We're gonna get everybody seated. You ready to go?
We're one candidate short again. Where's Justin?
I'm gonna look at it again.
Huh? To me, it does. Auto.
Good evening. Welcome to the Clear Lake Area Chamber of Commerce, Clear Creek ISD Board of Trustees Candidates Forum. My name is Peter Winchell. I am the Executive Director of Communities and Schools Bay Area, and I chair the Clear Lake Area Chamber of Commerce Education Division. The mission of the Clear Lake Area Chamber of Commerce is to be champions for business success and quality of life in our community. One way the Chamber fulfills this mission is by supporting public education and Clear Creek ISD. A successful school district is vital to the quality of life in a community. It also supports economic success by ensuring a highly educated workforce. Hosting the Candidates Forum every year serves as a tool to inform the business community and area residents about the people who wish to lead our excellent school districts. To avoid distractions, we ask the audience to please turn your cell phones off and refrain from recording the forum or taking pictures during the forum. Tonight's forum is being broadcast on ClearLakeArea.com and on I-45 Now. Thank you, TJ. We'll begin our session tonight with an invocation. You can remain seated. Blessed are you, Lord, divine source of all wisdom and truth. Tonight, we hear from 5 candidates for the Clear Creek ISD Board of Trustees. These individuals have been called to educational leadership in our community. Lord, open our ears this evening to hear the message of our speakers and call us all to action. Give us the courage and the grace to do your will in response to what happens this evening. Lord, divine teacher, help us to recognize you tonight in the message we hear, in the conversation we share, and in our lives shared in common. And may the blessing of God, his peace and love, rest upon our forum, our presenters, and all those in attendance tonight. Amen. Will everyone please stand for our pledge of allegiance to the American flag and to the Texas flag. American flag here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. You may be seated. Now I'd like to make some brief introductions. First in our audience we have today Chamber President and CEO, Cindy DeWeese. Over here we have our Chamber Vice President, Sherry Sweeney. And if you are on the Clear Lake Area Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, would you please stand? And if you are a President Clear Creek Independent School District Board of Trustees, would you please stand? Are there any other elected officials? I know Bob Davey is an elected official from Taylor Lake Village. Any other elected officials? Eric Williams is here. Eric, oh, yes, okay. Superintendent Eric Williams. Not an elected official, but very important to this forum tonight. Thank you. So I'd like to introduce to you our candidates, and we'll be from left to right in alphabetical order. For District at-large position B is Scott Bowen. He is the incumbent. Also for District at-large position B is Kyrsten Garcia. And for District at-large position B, Carl Nunn. Running for District 1 is Jessica Cheka and Misty Dawson. And I'd like to introduce to you now Dr. Glenn Friedman with EduSafe Incorporated. Dr. Friedman will review the format and start the proceedings. Thank you, Dr. Friedman.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Great to have you here. Good to see everyone. Candidates, thank you all for your civic mindedness and for your willingness to run for this important position. Thank you also to the Clear Lake Chamber for sponsoring the event this evening. We aim to provide a fair and impartial forum for voter information. We have 3 goals for tonight. One is to introduce the candidates to the community. The second one is to provide an impartial forum for voter information. And the third is to allow the candidates to express their knowledge and views on issues that affect CCISD and our community. All the questions have been developed and reviewed by the Chamber's Candidate Review Committee. The questions have been framed to elicit responses reflecting how each person would act as a board member or about issues that board members would be expected to know about. Now, the good news and the bad news. Good news is this room is outfitted with audiovisual equipment that would allow you to see the questions as I ask them. The bad news is the audiovisual system is not working.
It's our fault, not that's all bad. It's me.
In lieu of that, I will speak slowly. And secondly, Sherry has copies of the questions so that the candidates will be able to see the questions as I'm asking them. In other words, Plan B. Now to the format. Please note that all the questions have been reviewed by the committee, as I said, but the candidates themselves have not seen the questions, although they have been briefed on the format. And here's the format. Our aim is to keep everyone interested and to keep the evening moving along. So first, there will be introductory comments from each one of the candidates. These will be 90-second comments. Second is a section called The Big Issues. Candidates will be asked about critical issues facing the Board of Trustees. These will be 60-second responses, and there will be 2 rounds. Next, a section called Nuts and Bolts. This section will deal with the actual role, the nuts and bolts, if you will, of being a school board member. Each candidate will have 60 seconds to respond, and there'll be 2 rounds. Fourth is a fast and furious round. It's a set of 20 questions. Each candidate in turn will select a number that corresponds to a question, and they'll have 30 seconds to respond, and there'll be 3 rounds. And then finally, closing comments. Each candidate will provide a 60-second closing comment in the reverse order that we have for the introductory comments. So, it's time to get started. First, the introductory comments, and as I said, these are up to 90-second opening comments. The candidates have also been briefed about the timing, which will be at the table right here in the front, with green, yellow, and red flags. And if you see the red flag, that means your time is up. Now, if I may ask all of the candidates to turn on your microphones, make sure the green button is pressed, green button is on, press the button at the bottom of the microphone, there you go, and all sneezes will be recorded for posterity. The order for the introductory comments will be by last name, alphabetical order again. We will start with District 1. Christine Cheka, followed by Misty Dawson, and then at-large position B, Scott Bowen, Kyrsten Garcia, and Carl Nunn, and we'll rotate the order as we go. And with that, Ms. Cheka, your opening comment, please.
Thank you. Well, I want to start out by saying thank you for this opportunity. It's nice to be able to speak to the community. Forums like these inform our voters about getting to know the candidates. So my name is Jessica Cheka, and I'm running for District 1. I'm a mom of 3 girls, and for the last 20 years, I've been in the education realm. I have a bachelor's degree in mathematics from Texas A&M University and 2 masters in education from U of H Clear Lake. I taught middle school and high school, and I was also an adjunct professor at Galveston College. While I was teaching, I spent my summers at NASA working with an education program, and eventually took a role as the education manager of a NASA student and teacher STEM program. So I'm currently a local real estate agent, and I'm also active in the PTA as our executive board at my daughter's school, and I'm also a Girl Scout leader. I feel I can make a positive contribution to our district. As a former educator, I have firsthand experience and know the challenges teachers face. I want to be an advocate for our teachers. As an engaged parent, I know the importance of being involved in our schools, and I want to help increase parental involvement to take a little bit of the workload off our staff. As a real estate agent, I can advocate for our community and all taxpayers because I know the importance and the direct correlation of the quality of our schools and our property values. People are moving to CCISD because of the excellence at our schools. As a trustee, I will work collaboratively with all trustees to make decisions based on what is best for the students of CCISD. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cheka. Ms. Dawson, your comment, please, your introductory comment.
I just want to say thank you. I'm thrilled to be here today. I'm a business owner too, and I know what it's like to take that leap of faith to start a business. Not everyone is supportive in the beginning. In fact, most people are not supportive. I was told I was living the American dream with my corporate job. However, I was not living my dream. So I started my own business here in the community, which has been very successful. My background is I graduated from Clear Creek My oldest graduated from Clear Creek. She is now at Sam Houston State University and is now looking to apply for medical school. I have two small kids at Mossman Elementary, one in first grade and one in third grade. I currently, I was a controller for over 12 years. I had 35 employees underneath me, so I know what it's like to do budgets. I know what it's like to do financials, and I now have a business that is very successful in the area, and it is probably one of the largest, if not largest, pool business in the area. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dawson. Mr. Bowen?
Howdy. My name is Scott Bowen. I think I've met most of you already. But I was first selected 3 years ago to the Board of Trustees. I ran because I went through these schools. Graduated from Ward Elementary, the WAVE program at Webster Intermediate, and Clear Lake High School. And then my younger 5 siblings all went through those same schools also. And so I've seen the district change over a period of 25 years as I've lived here. After I got my chemical engineering degree at A&M, I came back to Clear Lake to work in that industry. And being on the school board has been an opportunity to give back. What I saw when I ran was I saw unanimity. I did not see open debate happening on issues, and brought that to the board. I think the challenges we faced over the last 3 years have been monumental for education nationwide and in this area, but I'm very proud of what we've been able to accomplish. We hired an excellent new superintendent. We handled the challenges of COVID as best we could while still maintaining student and parent rights and reopening as quickly as we could to avoid the learning losses that we've seen all over the country. And I still think we have a lot of work to do. So that's why I'm running for re-election, is to make sure debate keeps happening on important issues, but also steer us through the challenges that we're going to face over the next 3 years.
Thank you, Ms. Bowen. Ms. Garcia?
Hi, good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to address the community and to get to know, for you guys to get to know us so that you can make your informed decisions when you go to the polls on May 7th. My name is Kyrsten Garcia. I am a former English teacher in CCISD. I'm a mom to a kindergartner and a preschooler. I've taught sophomore, junior, and senior English and led a successful student council program over the last 7 years. I'm passionate about growth and education, and I saw a need in the board for the voice of an educator, someone who can bring to light the current challenges being faced in classrooms and in our changing world. I approach every question, decision, and problem by asking more questions to learn before settling on an answer or a choice. And I have spent the last 7 years making every decision based on student needs as demonstrated by student data. I've also spent a lot of time collaborating with large and diverse teams of educators to come up with creative and differentiated solutions to meet the needs of every student, and that's exactly the perspective that the board needs. Again, thank you for this opportunity to address you guys, and I hope you learn everything it is that you're looking to learn tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Mr. Nunn?
Thank everybody for being here, and thank the members who are running. This is both enlightening and scary at the same time. So it is enjoyable. It's been a great learning experience. I've lived in the district for 16 years. I'm a graduate of Lamar High School down in Galveston County. It used to be a great school, but then football interjected itself. I live close to the school. I have 4 kids, well, 3 now at Springs. Well, 3 will be at Springs. I have a 2020 graduate. My wife works for the district. She's worked for it for about 9 years. She started doing that after it got too quiet in the house when the kids went to school. I currently serve as a police chief in the area. 27 years as law enforcement. That's been a unique experience as well. I'm retired from the United States Air Force. I currently serve on a safety and security board for the Odyssey Academy, which is a charter school. I've served this district both on booster clubs, PTA, and as an SLO, walking the halls of the elementary, intermediate, and high schools. That's a really neat opportunity there. It was paid though. I coached Little League for 17 seasons, and I want to add what I can to the public service round in the school board as your trustee.
Thank you all very much for your introductory comments. Now we turn to the questions. Candidates are going to be asked critical questions facing the Board of Trustees. These are 60-second responses. They'll feature different questions for each contested race, and there will be 2 rounds. We'll start with the at-large position B, and Ms. Garcia, you will lead off on this one, followed by Mr. Nunn and Mr. Bowen. Keep rotating around, and then I'll come over here to District 1. So here's the first question, Ms. Garcia. The pandemic has led to serious disruptions for many students, with educators concerned that students have fallen behind academically and or may have emotional or behavioral issues. What should the board do to support the administration as they address this post-pandemic environment?
So I can speak to the truth behind this from having been in the classroom. As far as the board's role in this, I think that the board needs to support administration in providing opportunities to rebuild school culture. Having stayed home and with some students being online and not on their home campuses, the culture is not the same. And I think that that contributes a lot to these emotional and behavioral issues and things that we see happening in the bathrooms. And so not only supporting the administration, but also challenging them and holding them accountable for implementing these things and prioritizing them at the same level that we prioritize our students' academic achievement, because their academic achievement is tied to their emotional and behavioral health and learning just as much as it is to any other basic need that they have.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Mr. Nunn, your response to the question.
I do definitely believe that the board should be supporting the administration as well as the teachers, but also the parents. It's important for us to understand that some of these kids went through a whole lot, you know. I'll use my kids for example. 2 of my kids, well, my youngest one was very good at computer work. My 2 middle ones, not so good. They were more social people. So them going back into school was very important. But with them being quarantined for so long and in and out, it was hard. It's still hard. We still have to drag them out of bed in the morning. So support, you know, getting back to the community culture of doing things the proper way, understanding that these kids are just as accountable as all of us adults.
Thank you. Mr. Bowen, same question.
Yes, I mean, in my opinion, the first thing we need to do is make sure it actually is a post-pandemic environment. And we've gotten away from most of the restrictions, but there are still separations in lunchrooms for elementary students in some schools. And there still is something of a culture of masking in some of the schools as well that I hope kind of goes away with time. But we need to encourage attendance again. We've seen lower attendance rates. Even as everyone is back in brick and mortar education, we need to address discipline and make sure that teachers feel supported by the administration in controlling their classrooms, and that there isn't a restriction imposed on them in terms of disciplining students. And then we need to identify students who have experienced the most dramatic learning loss and make sure that we have that targeted intervention for them to catch them up to where they need to be. And that is something the district is very active about doing, but so there.
The red flag went up, and the candidate stopped speaking. My congratulations, Mr. Bowen. I was just reminded that it takes a second before the camera can switch back and forth between folks. So if I may ask all of you candidates, hang on just a second before you answer to be sure the camera is on you. We want your lovely faces here for every single word. Now, the next question is for District 1 candidates in the reverse order that we went before. So Ms. Dawson, you'll be leading off. And here's the question for District 1. In your district, What are one or two of the biggest issues facing District 1 in the coming 3 years that would be your term? And what would you do about them?
Biggest issues, I would have to say, is the fact that the students are falling behind because of COVID. We need to focus more on education and less on social emotional learning. A generation ago, the United States was ranked first in the world on higher education. Washington Post says our students are falling behind. We have to focus more on education, reading, writing, math, and we need to get back to education.
Thank you. Ms. Shepard, the same question. What one or two biggest issues in District 1 in the coming years, and what would you do?
Well, I agree the first biggest issue is going to be that transition back to COVID that all the candidates have spoken about. It's been very challenging the last few years. A lot of students did stay online, and so that transition back to the classroom, not only working on their academics, but also the social skills. We have problems with bullying in our classroom, and I think part of that comes from those students being away from each other for so long. And so I think working with the counselors to figure out how to address that, and then working with the staff to see what they need to help with that as well. The second issue I would say would be the staff retention. CCISD does a really good job at that. We are currently at 89%, which is higher than the state average, but we're going to be losing teachers over the next few years. So we have to stay competitive. The new teachers leave at a higher rate, so we need to make sure that we are finding those mentoring programs, helping the teachers get into the schools and being part of that culture so that they want to stay in our district and teach our students.
Thank you all very much. Now we'll switch back to the at-large position. Mr. Nunn, you will be leading off this time. And here's the question. There's been a great deal of discussion about the role of parents in public education. What exactly is the role of parents?
As a parent, this is a great question, because we sometimes forget that people don't come to our jobs and tell us how to do those jobs. But it is very important to understand that parents want to understand what their children are learning, if the educators are being effective in their learning, and they have a right to ask questions. They have a right to pursue what the curriculum is for their kids. The kids, I call my kids kids. So our children, it's important for me to understand as a parent that my kids are learning what they need to without being interfered with. So the role of parent is to stop at the school doors. That's important because the teachers need to teach.
Thank you, Mr. Nunn. Mr. Bowen, same question.
And I totally disagree that the role of the parent stops at the school doors. I want as many parents in schools as possible. We know that schools that have parents involved and have parents engaged are the most successful schools, and they get the best outcomes for students. And I think the schools are ultimately working for the parents. Parents entrust their children to us to provide the best education we possibly can in a way that is consistent with their values. And so we should not be hiding anything from them. We should not be doing anything that a large amount of parents would object to. And at the same time, we need to remember that they are the parents of those children. They know them best, and they know them better than the district does. And so it's our job to support them. And if we're doing that, then I'm confident that they will support us.
Thank you. Ms. Garcia, same question.
In CCISD, the mission statement is that we're setting out to ensure that each student achieves, contributes, and leads with integrity in a safe and nurturing environment, distinguished by authentic relationships, service before self, and the spirit of exploration. And one of the strategic goals in the district is that we will ensure our community, parents, staff, and students exercise shared ownership of that mission. And so that looks like Mr. Bowen said, getting parents involved in schools. Students who attend schools with increased parent and community involvement, whether it's their parents or somebody else's, see better outcomes academically, socially, and generally in all areas. The role of the public school is to support the community and you know, bring students up into excellent community members, and we need their parents' support in doing that.
Thank you very much. And now we will switch to District 1. Sheka, you will lead off this time. And here's the question. With all the recent talk in the community about homestead exemptions, please tell us how changes in the homestead exemption would affect the citizens in your district and how it might affect the district itself.
Well, I feel like I have some knowledge on this one, being a real estate agent. I can tell you that our tax value and the money that comes in comes from our property taxes. With that homestead exemption, that is less money that is going into our schools. So schools are going to have to find creative ways on how to use the funding that they have to be able to provide support to our students and teachers and the staff that they need.
Thank you. Ms. Dawson, same question.
I have to agree with her on that. I think that we can't take away the homestead exemption. We're going to have to find other ways to bring in more tax dollars.
Thank you. Now we're going to have our first Fast and Furious round, and as I mentioned before, we'll be asking each of you to pick a number from 1 to 20. I'm going to read the question that you pick. It will be a question just for you. We're going to have 3 rounds, and it's limited to 30 seconds per answer. There'll be 3 rounds, and we will begin with Mr. Bowen. And your number, please.
Fighting Texas Aggie class of 12.
That's a perfect reason. The question is, the pandemic has brought the issue of students' mental and emotional wellness to school boards across the nation. What additional things should CCISD be doing that it is not doing now to address social and emotional issues?
Well, I think we are doing a lot of the things we need to do. We offer a very diverse array of mental health opportunities for students. We actually just had a workshop a couple of months ago that went through all of the community partnerships we have that offer mental health to students, and also the what counselors do to check in on students and make sure that every single one of them has an interaction where they're at least checked on, made sure they're okay. So I'm all for extending those programs as needed.
Gotcha, Scott.
Thank you. Ms. Garcia, pick a number between 1 and 20, please.
I'm going to have to go with Fighting Texas Aggie class of 11.
Ladies and gentlemen, there seems to be a pattern. Question 11. Pretend a company is considering moving to our area. The site selection agent for that company asks you how good the schools in CCISD are. What do you say?
I say the schools are exemplary. I mean, if you look and ask just about anybody who has moved into this district in the recent past, most of them, the ones that are families at least, will tell you that a large factor of their decision was the schools. I know for me personally, I grew up here. I attended Clear Creek High School. I've taught in Clear Springs High School, and my children will go to Clear Creek schools.
Thank you. Mr. Nunn, number between 1 and 20.
17.
Okay, does it have any affiliation with any known university? Number 17. In your mind, name 2 great things about Clear Creek ISD, and why did you pick those 2?
Well, there's a whole bunch. It is an exemplary school. People move here for the school district. We're associated with NASA. We have lockers that are in space on the International Space Station. We have kids at Clear Springs that build airplanes that actually fly. We have at Clear Brook, I believe the kids put together a Da Vinci robotic operating machine that they taught the surgeons on.
Thank you. Ms. Sheka, number between 1 and 20.
Well, I would say that the other 2 Aggies that are running make me feel very old, because class of '99.
I don't have a question.
I guess I'll go with 9. If I can
What number?
9.
Oh,
Number
sorry.
9. And for all you Longhorns in the audience, we love you. Number 9. Oh, wait. Oh, gee. What did I start?
Sorry.
Number 9. A parent calls you because she says her child is being bullied and discriminated against. What do you do?
I think the first thing is to really listen to the parent. I think if a parent is reaching out to a school board member, they feel like they've exhausted all their options. I hope that they've talked to the teacher. I hope that they've talked to the principal, the counselor, to get them involved to see what the problem is and how we can fix that. But then as a board member, I would bring it up to the board and the superintendent and say, you know, what can we do to fix this? Bullying is a problem in our schools, and we need to make sure that we are helping those students to get the support they need, and we want them to feel that they're supported by us.
Thank you. Ms. Dawson, number between 1 and 20.
I will go with number 7.
Number 7. This is an agree or disagree, and why? School board candidates should not accept funds or support from political groups as the elections are nonpartisan. Agree or disagree, and why?
Well, I'm personally self-funded, but I do think that you should be able to take funds from political groups.
Thank you. Mr. Bowen, back to you. If you had another degree, that year would be good too.
17. I do. Is that already taken? All right.
17 was
I'll
taken.
pick the next prime number up. 19.
19. Going with primes now. That's great. Here's the question. Some say school board members represent students. Some say boards represent the district. Some say they represent parents, and some say the taxpayers. Pick one. Who do you represent most of these choices?
I would say the group is citizens, which captures all of those, and is in fact who votes for us. We represent the entire community, and everyone in the community, whether they're parents or not, whether they're taxpayers or not, has an interest in the schools doing well and providing the best opportunities possible for every student who comes through our doors. So I would say that is who we represent, not any individual group within the community.
Thank you. Ms. Garcia, your number, please.
I'm going to have to go with number 1.
Number 1. In the Texas A to F accountability system, is an A school better than a B school? Why or why not?
Yes. In the Texas accountability system, one of the things that is considered is state testing scores, which are not always the most accurate picture of where a student is, especially for our students, our special education students, or students who are not particularly good at standardized testing. So yes, but if that was the difference between an A and a B score, then I would probably say no.
Thank you. Mr. Nunn, number please.
2.
Number 2. Texas requires that school trustees should participate in professional development each year. What training will you need to become a better trustee?
All of it. Absolutely all of it. If you ever stop learning, you become inadequate.
Thank you. Ms. Sheka, your number please.
3.
Number 3. This is another agree or disagree, and why? Homeschooled students should be allowed to participate in CCISD's extracurricular programs such as athletics, robotics, marching band, or others. Agree, disagree, and why?
I think this is a tough one, but I think I'm going to say I disagree on this one. I feel like whenever we have students involved in extracurricular activities, whether it's academic type things as robotics or athletics, they're a team, and those students build that bond. And so they are in school together, they are working together, they are in class, they usually are at some class time during the day, they're together working on whatever that sport is, and I feel like they build that bond. So having those homeschool students makes that a little challenging.
Thank you. Ms. Dawson, your number please.
what number have we not?
Just pick one, I'll tell you if it's taken.
Okay, number 10.
Number 10's a winner. You receive a petition with 142 signatures demanding that all students have bus service to school regardless of a resident's proximity to that school. What is your response?
I think that if that's the case, we need to take those parents' views into consideration, and we're going to have to do a report and try to find a way to find a conclusion. And we're definitely going to have to take their opinion into matters, and we're going to have to figure out if there's a way we can find a solution.
Okay. Mr. Bowen, last question in this round.
All right, I don't think we've done 8 yet, have we?
No, we haven't. It's a winner. A board member is a part of a team of 8. That includes the 7 members of the board and the superintendent. Why is this an important concept in Texas public schools?
I think everybody has to work together in order to succeed. You have to know that you're all following a common goal, which is what is best for students. But I think a lot of times this concept is abused, and it is the concept of a team of 8 is used to imply that if you dissent from the rest of the group, you're not necessarily on the same team, and that's not true. I think a functioning team of 8 can accept that sometimes members of the team disagree and still have good intentions. And so that's how I always try and operate.
Thank you. Ms. Garcia, your last question in this round.
Has number 2 been taken yet?
Yes, it has.
How about number 3?
Yes, 3, but 4 is open.
4 it is.
A school board member is expected to be an advocate for public education. What does that mean to you?
Being an advocate for public education is something I'm particularly passionate about. This looks like a lot of different things. It means keeping parents informed about legislative decisions that are being made that are going to impact their students. It means forming relationships with local and state lawmakers to advocate for the needs of our students, as well as being involved with local committees and things that are happening in the school district.
Thank you. Mr. Nunn, number please.
5.
5 it is. A parent asks you, what is a school bond? What do you say?
It's a way for the district to get money, for sure, but it's focused on a certain goal that you're trying to achieve. It can't be interoperated with your maintenance and operation budget. So that would have to be explained to them for them to understand. But it's a goal to get goals. It's a goal to get projects completed without tapping into your other money.
Thank you. Ms. Scheck.
It's 18.
18
Yes.
is a winner.
It's a winner. It's a winner.
Over the years, CCISD has received commendations for excellence from the board level to every aspect of teaching and learning and operations. How would you contribute to sustaining that excellence?
Well, I think our schools do an excellent job of that already. We have so many programs that we offer to our students that not all districts have. So making sure that the funding stays in place for those programs so that we can continue to keep giving our students the opportunities to do programs, extracurriculars, whether that's STEM, robotics, GT programs, as well as the athletics programs. So we want to make sure that we keep the funding for those programs so that we can offer those to our students.
Thank you. And the last one in this round, Ms. Dawson, is up to you. Which number?
Okay, how about you surprise me?
No, you surprised me.
I've seen them, so no.
Okay, 2.
Number 2's been taken.
1.
Taken.
Oh, wow, they got that low? Okay, 11.
Number 11. Nope, sorry, that was taken too. Yeah. We have 14, 15, 16, 20, and 13.
Let's go 13.
Okay.
Lucky 13.
Someone asks you if you favor cutting property taxes. And if so, specifically, not generically, specifically, what would you cut from CCISD's budget if you did reduce property taxes?
Well, I do support property taxes if we can afford it. If we cannot afford it, I do not support it. We would have to look at the budget and look at our wants versus our needs and see if it's something we can even do. And I don't want to make any promises that I cannot keep.
Thank you. Time to turn to the next category, which is the nuts and bolts round. And this section will deal with the nuts and bolts, as I mentioned, of being a school board member. Candidates will have 60 seconds to respond. There'll be 2 rounds, and everyone will have the same question in this round. Ms. Dawson, we finished with you in that round, but it's your turn to start this round. Lucky. And here's the question.
Okay.
The board as a whole is responsible for approving the superintendent's goals and assessing progress toward meeting those goals. The current goals for the superintendent are budget development, student academic growth, personalized learning, instructional best practices, literacy development, and mental health resources and support. Which of these do you value most highly, and how is the district doing, in your opinion?
I personally think the district is doing a great job with majority of these items. I think as far as the goals of the superintendent for the board, it's the board's job to ensure that the goals reflect the taxpayers, parents, and teachers' values in the district.
Pick one.
So you want me to pick which one?
The question is for you to pick one.
Which one I think they're doing the best at?
No. And because the question reads, those are the current goals, which of those do you value most highly? And how is the district doing on the one you value most highly?
I would say student academic growth. And I think that they're doing a good job, but I think that they can do better.
Okay. Mr. Bowen, same question. You were a participant in those. Which one do you value most highly? And how's the district doing?
I think of these 6, I value literacy development the most highly. I think if you don't have literacy, you don't have anything. And so there can be no academic growth, and really there cannot even be instruction or mental health support without literacy. And so the district's program for improving our literacy instruction has been to reintroduce phonics and direct learning, which I think has been very successful at the elementary level. I do think there is more we can do to encourage reading of whole books. I would like to go back to having a reading list that English teachers work throughout the course of the year so that all of the kids read the same book at the same time in class and they're able to go into greater depth. I think that's how English class used to work, and I think it's something we should go back to. But of these 6, literacy development is the most important, and I think we are on the right track.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Garcia, which one would you choose? And how is the district doing?
I'm a little biased. I was an English teacher here in CCISD, and I think the most growth that I experienced as a teacher was in CCISD, learning how to teach English with our workshop practices that we do. We have seen huge leaps in our students' literacy development. Self-reported students are saying that they read more, they are making better choices for themselves. And I absolutely refute what Mr. Bowen said. Our teachers are going into depth with the text that our students are reading. We pulled longer excerpts in addition to shorter ones, but we also, the nature of our literacy practice is that the questions that we ask apply to any book that they read. But this also ties into the personalized learning goals as well as instructional best practices because all of those things are encompassed in our workshop style method of teaching.
Thank you. Mr. Nunn, of those, which one do you value most highly, and how is the district doing?
I would say budget development. Everything that we do is based on budgets, and if we value everything that's on this page, by doing our budget correctly, we could probably add to all of them. They're all great things that you can add money to, but CCISD, it's a great school district. It's an A- school district right now, but it's great. It's 13 out of 100 companies listed by Forbes for America's best places to work. We have great teachers, we have great parents, we have great administrators. So I would say budget. If we developed our budget right, we could do the rest.
Thank you. Ms. Sheka, your response, which one do you value most highly, and how's the district doing?
Well, I think all of these goals are really important, but I think I would have to pick student academic growth. As a district and as a board, we need to strive to provide a solid foundation in the K-12 setting for our students to succeed in the next step of their journey, whatever that may be, whether it is going off to college, a trade school, or going straight into the workforce. Those students have a better opportunity to succeed when they have a solid academic foundation. And so I feel like that academic growth is going to be what's the most important for those students. With that being said, I think that it's very important to be supporting our teachers so that they can provide that academic growth to our students. They are the ones that are in the classroom every day fostering those students, educating them and giving them the skills they need to step into the workforce.
Thank you very much. So the next question will be starting with you, Mr. Nunn. The National School Board Association says that one qualification of a good school board member is that he or she is data savvy. What district data are you savvy about, sir? And what insight can you bring us about that data?
As far as I'm not real sure what the question means.
Is there any data within the district that you feel confident and capable of providing the audience some insight about?
That we're the 30th largest school district in the state. We have over $330 million for teachers' salaries. We're
Thank you. Mr. Bowen, you were next on this list. The question was about one qualification of a board member being data savvy. What data are you savvy or do you understand well, and what insight can you bring to us about that data?
So I'll give a recent example of one issue that I've kind of been interested in over the past few years is how changes made to our grade point average formula soon after I left high school impacted fine arts enrollment. And after those changes were made and the GPA cap was eliminated, every single class counted towards students' rankings. And so students felt a lot more pressure, especially the ones who were chasing valedictorian or chasing top 10%, to enroll in as many AP classes, pre-APs, and honors classes as possible to boost their GPAs. And unfortunately, entry-level fine arts classes don't have those same options available. And so I've heard anecdotally from many teachers of those subjects that enrollment has been impacted in our extracurricular programs. So that's an example of something that can be corrected using data, and I'd like to do it.
Thank you. Ms. Garcia, your response, please.
I mentioned test scores earlier, and that's one of the places that I am most savvy about, having experience specifically in the classroom with teaching a STAR subject for so many years. Our district has done a very good job of consistently keeping STAR scores high, even staying higher than the state average after the pandemic. But some of the insight that I can bring about that data is that it is not a full reflection of who a student is or what they are good at or capable of. Often we look at that as being the metric for how we're doing in the classroom, but we also, at least in the English classrooms, look to feedback from the students. How do the students feel that they're doing? Can they have a conversation about what they're reading and explain why it's credible or not credible, or explain the literary value in it? So data is not always the end-all be-all.
Thank you. And for District 1, Ms. Checker, we'll begin with you. What data are you savvy about, and what insights can you bring to us?
Well, being a math major and having taught calculus and statistics, numbers are kind of my thing. So as a board, I feel like we would look at assessments and statistics, and we would review those numbers to see what way we can use that data to make improvements. Because even though we are an excellent district, there are always ways we can improve. And so I think we need to be open to that idea and know that however good we are, we can always be better. And so that's very important to look at those numbers and statistics that the teachers, the administrators are providing us to make sure that we are making those strides to stay on top and stay at that excellent level. My education degree is a master's in instructional technology, and so technology pulls in the data from that. And so that means it's ways to teach the teachers how to help those students succeed and figure out what ways we can impact them.
Thank you. And Ms. Dawson, your response.
Well, there's a massive amount of data out there. We need to look at all of it. During COVID, the kids have fallen so far behind due to online schooling. We need to figure out how we can get the kids caught up. This is very important to see. We need to be looking at reports, and we just need to get the kids caught up.
Thank you. Well, it's time for the second Fast and Furious round. Another set, completely different set of 20 questions. Each one of you would have a chance to choose from 1 to 20. And Ms. Dawson, we'll start with you this time. Which number would you like?
I will go with 7 again.
Number 7?
Yes, sir.
Okie doke. The number of at-risk students in CCISD is increasing. Why is that happening, and what are the implications for the district?
Okay, when you're saying at-risk students, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about the designation that the state and federal government uses to identify at-risk students.
Okay. Are you talking about disabled students?
It's
Or?
for you to answer the question. I just asked them.
Okay, I guess I'm gonna have to skip on this because I'm not really sure as to what qualifies an at-risk student.
Thank you. Ms. Bowen, number please.
I'll go with number 3.
Number 3. I will mention the names of 2 high-profile CCISD initiatives. Please tell us what they are. 1, Leader in Me, and 2, Robotics, Coding, and Computational Thinking. What are those things?
Leader in Me is a leadership program mainly in elementary schools that is based around the 7 Habits for Highly Effective People. It is mostly funded by the Clear Creek Education Foundation through the generosity of Houston Methodist. And Robotics, Coding, and Computational Thinking is about what it says on the tin. It is a program that is in a few of our elementary schools, and we're expanding it to more for encouraging students to learn coding and computational thinking.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Garcia, number please.
Number 11.
Number 11. Over the past few years, we've seen an uptick in bullying, disrespectful and uncivil behavior by adults toward teachers, toward the board, and toward other school personnel. What, if anything, should be done about that behavior?
One of the things I mentioned earlier was challenging administrators to really invest in developing school culture, and doing that means inviting parents into schools. Implementing positive behavior programs in schools is something that reaches out also into the home life. TEA provides some resources on their website for parents to use at home, and so I think that inviting.
Thank you. Mr. Dunn, a number, please.
17 again.
17. There are two biases that often affect board members' decision-making. One is confirmation bias, or seeing what we expect to see and already believe. And the other is desirability bias, or seeing what we want to see. How do you combat these common tendencies when making decisions?
By sitting down and having critical conversations and respecting each other's opinions. I think we've forgotten that along the line, that you can actually do that. It is important for us to respect the decisions of our colleagues. You know, they're up there just like us. So the value that they bring is important. We need to see that.
Thank you. The second number, please.
9.
Number 9. Over 95% of CCISD students graduate. Should the district track these students after graduation to assess the impact of their education on their readiness to contribute to society? Why or why not?
I think it's always good to have assessments at that level. I think a lot of times we lose sight of that because once they've graduated, they've moved on, they're not a part of this district, but they are, because a lot of them come back to this district. A lot of people go to college and then come back. I for example, went off to A&M, and then when I came back, I went to teach at the high school I went to. So I think it's important to track that, and because they are going to be community members here in our area, and they can be valuable input to us.
Thank you. Ms. Dawson, number please.
Let me go with 10.
Number 10. Okay. An elected school board is responsible for district governance. The superintendent and his staff are responsible for district management. Why is this an important distinction?
Okay, the responsibility of election for district government, superintendent staff responsible for district management. Okay, so the district, the superintendent is responsible for the day-to-day activity, and the district, which is the actual, the school board is governing body for the school.
Thank you. Mr. Bowen, your question, please. What your number? I'm sorry.
Number 5.
Number 5 is a good one. Meaning that hasn't been taken. The quality of the question is entirely up to you. What is the difference between STEAM and STEM in terms of curriculum? And which, if either, makes more sense for CCISD?
STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mechanics. STEAM adds arts in as the A. And I believe arts and STEM education serve complementary purposes in some instances, and then also there are some students who feel directed toward one or the other. So I think what's more important is that we offer good opportunities in arts and in science and mathematics, and allow the children who want to do both pursue that opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen. Ms. Garcia, a number, please.
Number 12.
Number 12. The pandemic has caused us to choose between public health. The pandemic has caused us to choose between public health and safety, that is, things like masks and vaccines, and personal choice, whether to abide by these things or not. If another major COVID surge hits us, where would you stand? On the public health and safety side or the personal choice side?
When I am not an expert in something, I defer to the people who are. I ask them questions and I look at the recommendations that they make and use those to inform decisions that I make. That was the way that I operated during the last surge and the one before that, and it is the way that I would continue to operate.
Thank you very much. Mr. Nunn, your question, your number, please.
8.
Number 8. What are the implications of CCISD's changing demographics for the district's strategic planning?
We're still growing, but we're also maturing. The changing demographics are probably the reason that we are now an A-. Going back to the test scores that some of the candidates talked about earlier, it doesn't recognize a whole person. And as far as the demographics for the children that are coming in, if they're not English language speaking, the test doesn't differentiate between them. And that's our problem.
Thank you. Ms. Checa, your second number, please.
Has 18 been selected?
18 is open.
No, I got it.
This is an agree or disagree, and why. School boards and educators should be permitted to have professional organizations advocate for them at the legislature. Do you agree or disagree, and why?
I do agree with this statement. I feel like there are a lot of organizations in our community that are strong supporters of our school system. We have our Rotary clubs, we have our chamber, they are strong supporters of our education system, and so being an advocate means that they come and help rally for us. When I was at NASA, we advocated for student programs, and we had many community partners that came into play, and I think that helped get the word out and get the funding that we needed to be successful.
Thank you very much. Ms. Dawson, your last number on this round, please.
Let me go 4.
Number 4. Here it comes. Over the next 3 years, should CCISD's career and technical education programs be changed in any way? How and why?
Well, I own a tech company, so I believe our future is going to be, we need to go more into training for technology, plumbing, AC. There's other ways. We need to stop sending students to college. There's other avenues you can go down. Not everyone's meant to go to college. And I think that there's a lot of opportunity and money in other directions.
Thank you. Ms. Bowen, your final number for this round, please.
Is it a big 20 yet?
No.
Number 20. No, that's an open one. A parent blasts you personally and wrongly on social media. How do you respond?
Well, this has never happened to me. I mean, when I can, sometimes I will reach out to them and talk to them and try and find out what their issue is. I mean, there have been multiple instances where behind the keyboard, someone has sent very nasty comments to me, and then when I talk to them on the phone or I meet them personally, we have a very pleasant conversation and we're able to find common ground. So something about being behind the keyboard just lets people feel like they can say whatever they want, but there's opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Garcia.
Number 13.
Number 13. Agree or disagree, and why? The best way to assess a student's learning is the STAR test.
I think we all know where I'm going with that. I do not believe that the best way to assess a student's learning is the STAR test. It is definitely a piece of the puzzle. It definitely gives teachers a place to start in planning instruction, because we do need data to drive our decision making, but it is not the best way to look at what a student has actually learned and what they're capable of, what skills they have mastered.
Thank you. Mr. Nunn, your next number, please.
6.
Number 6. Candidates often talk about budget transparency. What exactly does that mean?
understanding it. For one, the budget, I believe, was 46 pages. So to be transparent about it, being open and clear about what we pay for, how much services cost for food, for educators, for administration. Parents want to know that stuff, and it's important because they don't want their tax dollars going to waste, and it's our job.
Thank you. Campus Fusions. Ms. Checa, last one in this round, please.
17?
17's been taken.
16?
16's a winner. Another agree or disagree, and why? There is a mental health crisis in public education that affects both students and teachers. Agree, disagree, and why?
100% agree. I think that we already had challenges in our schools before COVID, and COVID just escalated that. It's been very difficult transitioning back to the school for many students. My students, we chose to stay online last year, and even though my students are my children are where they need to be, it's still been a struggle getting back to that day-to-day routine. Teachers, the same way. Some teachers were teaching online and in person at the same time. So there have been challenges all around, and we need to work on addressing that.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you've successfully navigated the questions, and now it's time for your closing comments. These are 60-second closing comments, and they'll be in the reverse order of the opening comments, starting with at-large position B, Mr. Nunn, then Ms. Garcia, and then Mr. Bowen, followed by Ms. Checa and Ms. Dawson. Mr. Nunn, your closing comments, please.
CCISD is a fantastic district, or Clear Creek Independent School District. I enjoy it, my kids enjoy it, my wife enjoys it, and I'm a father in it. And I want to make sure that as a father in the district, and for the parents and the coaches whose kids that I've been a part of for a very long time, roughly 16 years, that we are moving forward and we maintain our excellence. We have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of improvements to continue to make. And we have to get back to respect to people's opinions, the parents, board members, the educators, community culture. That's what it's about. We need to get back there.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Garcia, your closing comments, please.
One of the things that I keep coming back to is the strategic goal that I mentioned, one of the questions at the beginning about inviting parents, students, community members to all take part in a shared mission that every student can achieve the best that they're able to. Growth and learning are things that I've been passionate about for a very long time. They are things that I bring a perspective about what that looks like in the classroom that other candidates do not. I taught through the pandemic, I taught online, I taught in person, I've taught in the summer, and I know what our kids need and I know what they're facing, and I have ideas about how to give it to them.
Thank you. Mr. Bowen, your closing comment, please.
I think there's a lot of work left ahead to do. I think that CCISD is a mature district. Our growth is slowed, and so we really need to focus on redefining specific goals that we can achieve as a district to move forward over the next 3 years and really over the next decade. I think we need to build a strategic plan that allows us to find a way of measuring how students are doing outside of STAR, which we don't really have right now. And then we have to face our budget challenges that are coming in the next few years while preserving our most important programs. I feel like I'm the best equipped to do that. I've been on the board for 3 years already. I've seen most of the problems we've gone through already, and I've brought a diverse perspective that didn't exist before, and I think it's been of incredible value to the district and to the board. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, those are your three candidates for the at-large position B, Mr. Bowen, Ms. Garcia, and Mr. Nunn, alphabetically speaking. And now for closing comments, Ms. Checa.
Thank you. I want to say thank you to the Chamber and I-45 now for hosting this. Also to everyone that's here in person and those that are watching online. I hope that everyone had an opportunity to learn more about myself and my goals for the district. I also wanted to say thank you to the candidates for taking the courage to step up. It takes a lot to get up here and speak. Most of us are not politicians or public speakers. We're just parents that want to get involved and do the right thing for our district. So I'm passionate about education, and I have 3 daughters in the district, and we try to volunteer as much in the schools and community as possible to be good role models. I'm committed to fighting for what is right, and my decisions as a trustee will be based on what is best for the students of CCISD. I've dedicated my professional career to education, and I want to continue that dedication by serving on the board. I'm running for this position to ensure that our district continues to move in a positive direction, and we can offer a vast array of opportunities for our students. I know I can make a difference, and I would be privileged to represent District 1.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Dawson.
Okay. CCISD is my home. I'm here to fight for the taxpayers and to make sure that we're going in the right direction. The board needs to listen to the parents and really listen. We need to keep politics out of the classroom. Policy is political. At least I'm being honest when I tell you where I stand. I'm trying to be honest on all issues, and all I can do is promise to be honest on where I stand on all issues.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, your candidates for CCISD District 1, Ms. Cheka and Ms. Dawson. And with that, the questions and the comments conclude. I'd like to turn it back over to Dr. Winchell.
Thank you, Dr. Freeman. This does conclude the Clear Lake Area Chamber of Commerce CCISD Board of Trustees Candidates Forum. We thank you for beginning to become an informed voter. In order to continue being informed, we ask you to go to www.ccisd.net/elections, and you can find more information on our candidates. The Clear Creek Independent School District Board of Trustees will hold regular elections for the following trustee positions on Saturday, May 7th, 2022. Early voting will be from April 25th to May 3rd, 2022, with the polls closed on Sunday. Early voting locations are CCISD Education Support Center on East Main Street in Lake City, Creekside Intermediate on West Main Street in Lake City, Learning Support Center on Falcon Pass in Clear Lake, Westbrook Intermediate on West El Dorado in Friendswood. On the ballot again are District At-Large Position B, Scott Bowen, At-Large Position B, Kyrsten Garcia, and At-Large Position Carl Nunn. For District 1, Jessica Cheka, and District 1, Misty Dawson. Thank you all for running for office. We appreciate your commitment to public service and to public education. Once again, our thanks to each of our candidates for participating, our host, the Clear Lake Area Chamber of Commerce, our moderator, Dr. Glenn Friedman, and most importantly, thank you all for coming, for viewing, and for caring about the future of Clear Creek ISD. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
No, I don't think so. I was just